So welcome everybody to December 2025 DIB, You Already Own It Cloud Office Hours. We've got a topic I think lots of people have been anticipating, which is the availability of Copilot within GCC High. I am Matt Nevins, Senior Cloud Strategist here at Planet, supporting the defense industrial base and global aerospace and defense. And I'm joined by Pierre-Yves Delacote, Bill Beener, and John Parrott, who are going to help me today. Quick overview of our agenda. We'll just talk about what's actually arrived. This will be important because there is some differences around the availability of features. And so we want to make sure that we're setting the right stage about what is available today in GCC High. We'll talk about the licensing implications as well. As with anything, of course, it's you. And so we just want to talk about what that availability is. We'll dive through some security and compliance implications. And this is important because anything we do here in the DIB and with how we handle data we handle is important for protecting. And so we'll dive a little bit deeply, or a little at 100 level, what some of those controls look like and capabilities and how that applies. And then next, we'll talk about use cases. So this is through Planet's almost 2.5 years of deploying Copilot now in the enterprise space and state and federal government space, non-defense. We've learned a lot. And so we've learned that use cases are the best path forward for driving adoption. And so we'll talk about that and have any Q&A at the end. I do just want to highlight a couple of things before we get started. We're really proud of these two things that have happened over the last couple of months as it relates to Copilot. First, we have earned our specialization in modern work in Copilot. And so this is a really important area where we have to demonstrate our capabilities to Microsoft and be able to deliver on solutions that are transformative to organizations. The next is Planet's induction into the Microsoft Copilot Inner Circle for the year 25-26. This was given to the top 1% of partners for Copilot deployment. We're really honored to be brought into that group, and it also means that we'll be able to provide more value and get access to things and provide great content and information around what's coming with Copilot, not only for those organizations that exist in the DIB and GCC High, but also to organizations that might have a presence across other Microsoft clouds. So let's talk about what is available. So again, highly anticipated. We've been pushed off many times for this availability. But as you can see here, this is a screenshot of the public roadmap that this was added to the roadmap as coming back in October. And as of December 1st, it was made available. Now, there are a couple things to note here. One, it is a rollout happening now, and so if your tenant wasn't first, you might be last. But the availability there is rolling out as we speak. There's of course a licensing component with this as well, which we'll talk about in a second. And then just an important thing to point out here that this is being delivered with web grounding off by default. It would make sense that this is how the solution is going to be delivered. And so we don't want users to be able to use web grounding, at least by default, due to the nature of potentially some of the data that they might be having Copilot be working on. So let's talk about what is actually available. Today we're talking about Copilot for M365. This is really focused on the modern work aspect, so M365. I'm sure many of you are aware of kind of the purpose of Copilot. You can see there it talks about using LLMs, content within the Microsoft Graph, the productivity apps integration, etc. This is a user-based capability, and so, like I said, it does require a license. Let's dive a little more deeply into feature availability here. So, as it relates to M365 Copilot, you can see that there's various different offerings here. The ones that if you've used Copilot in the commercial cloud or even in GCC, you'll be familiar with some of these things. The Copilot app itself is available. Notebooks, And then within the productivity apps as well, or PowerPoint, Excel, as well as Teams, and you can see some of the other various items as well. I want to make one note that you see Purview listed there, which is an interesting thing, right? In the DIB, there was a focus that Microsoft has put on allowing specific capabilities from the commercial Purview stack to be introed with this initial Copilot release. One of the keys there is something called DSPM for AI, and we'll talk about that in just a second. So just a quick note on the licensing aspects here in DSPM. So Copilot, like I said, is a separate license. It is available today through your retail channels, whether that be Planet through our AOSG or CSP programs, or on your enterprise agreement if you're a large organization through your LAR. Interesting to note here is just like most things in the Microsoft world, we can have access to capabilities, and then we can have an optimized access to capabilities. On the right hand, well, I should say, Planet's kind of statement on this. Generally, we want to have customers utilizing Microsoft 365, G5, E5 to additionally secure and be compliant in our terms with the control families that are required. There's, of course, a lot of capabilities that having Copilot opens up for users to be using these LLMs to be more efficient at work, et cetera. All those fun things that are great about AI, but of course, it also widens the attack surface and potential for things like data loss or data exfiltration. And so, a good approach to Copilot, and one by which our flight plan uses, is focusing on the technical controls that need to be put into place, as well as all the human element and training and adoption and use cases and all of those things. Key to doing that is Purview. So just aligning some of the basic feature availability here that are important, you can see that across Copilot as well as SharePoint Advanced Management, you get a whole host of features that are all contributing to that CMMC assessment ready baseline that's important to keep as you continue your journey in Microsoft 365. You see everything from sensitivity labels, which should be things that most organizations are doing these days, to data loss prevention policies that specifically actually target AI interface. DSPM, DSPM for AI is not only about protection for Copilot, but also for hundreds of third-party or public AI services out there. I did a deep dive on DSPM for AI back in September or October, which you can go look up, but it gives it into the technical details of how that works, as well as some demo. So let's talk about some keys to success. We'll call these our pathways for success in Copilot deployment. Microsoft's been very public about how Copilot can be successful, and we've actually seen this again in our hundreds of Copilot engagements that we've delivered now in the non-DIB space across enterprise, government, et cetera. And I think this is a pretty interesting number where if you don't focus 70% of the effort of a deployment on change management and end user training, you're likely going to be struggling. And so while we love to preach, especially as a technologist, the technical controls that are important from a compliance and security aspect, Copilot really is about that human aspect of interaction, training, adoption, end user engagement. Having a well-defined program, which includes all of those things, is really a critical path as well, right? So just turning it on and let users have it, likely not going to be a path to success for you. And so, again, having a defined program that gets you from that day 0, day 1, day 2, as we see it, progression is really important and allows you to realize more value out of the investment you're making. As I mentioned, security and compliance posture and adherence, as we know, everything, in in M365 in GCC High really is focused on CMMC compliance, right? And so that, not unlike anything else, Copilot needs to be deployed, enabled and deployed and configured in such a way that we have adherence to controls that are applicable. And then lastly, what we see is really the most effective way to integrate Copilot is the definition of alignment of use cases, as I mentioned. This is really where the meat of many of our engagements with customers focus, in that, like I said, the 70% that's referenced above is really where that work takes place. So before I hand it over to John and Bill and PY, just want to close up with talking about the value of good use cases. So provable ROI, license efficiency, that can be demonstrated by having good use cases, right? What are my users actually using this for in their day-to-day work? How is it benefiting them? How are they being more efficient? How are they supporting the business in a better manner? Again, risk reduction aligned to CMMC and GCC High controls. Of course, there's the shared responsibility model around M365 GCC High that, of course, Microsoft takes a lot of that responsibility, whether that be of the LLMs themselves or the infrastructure, et cetera. But again, the importance of having those controls in place is paramount. Again, change management, that's going to allow you to have some clear wins. And then also understanding what the future cadence looks like. While we're not going to talk today about the future roadmap for Copilot and GCC High, some of those things are public today, and I encourage you to go to office365.com/roadmap and look at the GCC High roadmap filtered by Copilot. That'll be a future session, but there's some really cool things coming to Copilot for end users, and then also all of the Copilot aspects that also exist from an operational perspective. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to John Parrott. And John, just let me know when you need to advance some slides.
I'll go ahead and take control, Matt, so I can go ahead and rev it up myself. But hello, everyone. Once again, my name is John Parrott. I am so excited to be the show part of the show and tell session that we have going on. So what we've done today is we've been able to experience Copilot with so many of our customers. Over 100 engagements that we've done with Copilot has given us a lot of insight and specific data on use cases that have made the most impact for all the general users of this tool. So what we're just going to do today is give you 4 of the general use cases, and we'll showcase 1 or 2 of them with time permitting, and be able to really get you a little bit of a jump start into what you can start looking forward to and what you can start thinking about how it can be applied to your own organizations. So the first use case that I really want to cover is the fact that now Teams meetings are going to be so much easier to recap about. So when you're inside of your meeting, Copilot is there with you, and it's going to be automatically listening if you have chosen to turn on your transcription or at the most recording the meeting, and therefore Copilot can start using all of that information to start generating minutes, key points, and follow-up items for you to go ahead and cover. Now, how this is going to look is a little something like this, where we're actually going to see that after a meeting is done, you'll have the ability to look at the recap. You'll obviously be able to see the video segment, and you'll also be able to see, due to AI, how different people have interacted with the meeting and when everyone was speaking. However, probably the most powerful element that's going to be coming with Copilot inside of your meetings is going to be the meeting notes and follow-up tasks that you see here. As you can see, we're under the AI summary tab, and it's been listening to everything that's been said, collating all of that information for you and who has been saying what. And then if during the meeting tasks are assigned out to different individuals, it's actually going to keep a record of that in the follow-up tasks section, basically allowing you to always come back to the meeting and understand if you were late or if you had to miss it completely, get a quick recap of everything that was going on, and then know what parts of the video you probably want to check out in order to catch up on that specific piece of information. So this is an incredibly powerful way to utilize this tool. Next up, however, is our email thread summarization. Now, I used to teach high school English, and emails frustrate me. Now, I know many of you live in that email sphere, and you might be used to it, but I will never come to a day where I can say it makes complete sense to me that whenever I have a giant email thread, that I have to scroll all the way down to the bottom and then actually read the text there, and then on my way up, dodge so many long to and from lines, subject lines, increasingly enlarging signatures that come with each email. It becomes really frustrating. But luckily, Copilot is going to be there to make your day in dealing with those long threaded emails that much quicker. Because with the quick click of a summarization button, it's going to be able to look at what your email is actually saying, put it into chronological order, and then give you the ability to see what that content is actually saying and the order it was being given. So therefore, the days of having to really power through all of this messaging is going to be a thing of the past, because you have that quick summarization button where you can get a bird's eye view on what was being said. And if you need to, you can go in and find that other piece of information to gather more. But at least at this point, you're not going to be stuck going through every single line and giving yourself a lot of mental fatigue that's just not necessary. Next up is a use case I'll try and actually preview in more of our showcase section after my area is done here with use cases, and that is document comparison. Now, I often tell people that Copilot is like an intern. It's never going to know the nuances of your job, but that means that you can offload a lot of the things that don't take your speciality and actually make it that responsibility to Copilot. And this is a great example of that. So being able to utilize documents and load multiple documents into your prompt and giving it direction on how to utilize these documents is actually kind of offloading that work and being able to get a quick response from Copilot that might have taken you such a long time and eaten so many minutes out of your day. Now with Copilot, we can have it rest safely in its hands and be able to provide some answers back. Now, I will say, going back on my intern example, that anything that you have Copilot bring you back doesn't necessarily mean that you automatically should take it as fact. Always read through what Copilot brought in, just like if you got something from an intern, you'd still want to review it. And that's just some good advice that I like to share. And finally, probably the biggest use case that we like to suggest, because it really starts the cadence of using Copilot through your day, is just the prepare for my day briefing. And that is trying to get a grip on everything that is going on in your Microsoft environment. As you're probably already aware, Copilot is apt at reaching out to your Teams messages, Teams posts, emails, SharePoint files, OneDrive files, everything that's going on inside of that Microsoft ecosystem. Copilot has some fingers in. So therefore, you can actually utilize Copilot to be, as the slide says, your personal chief of staff. It's going to be able to take all of these places that normally you have to go and hunt down and collate it all into one piece of information. And that's actually where I'm going to go ahead and start my kind of my demonstration element. So if you'll give me 1 second to switch over to my actual page, we're going to get involved with Copilot. Now, I'm going to go ahead and paste in a prompt that I use pretty daily. I'm going to tell you that this is definitely something that I run in my day-to-day life every day that I start work, because it gives me that bird's eye view of what's going on in my life. And I'll just walk you through what this prompt is like. And if you'd like, I can definitely paste it inside of the chat so you can start customizing it for your own needs. But the first thing I do is I give Copilot a role to follow. In this case, act as my personal assistant. Fantastic. Now it has an understanding of the type of responses I'm going to need. Then I go ahead and give it the task. Create a well-organized and formatted overview to start my day. That means I want to get kind of a one sheet on what my day is going to look like and what messages that have been received that maybe I haven't attended to. I'm also going to ask it to format it in a way that makes the most sense to me. Some people like long paragraphs, some people like tables. In this case, I've gone ahead and said, make it visually appealing and add section headers and spacing between each section. So that way I'm getting it to the way that works best for me. I can cater Copilot to my own needs. But then I can start giving it simple commands to really bring back everything that I'm looking for. So to begin with, list all the events on my calendar for today, summarize calendar items from previous business day so I know who to follow up with, remind me if there's any important calendar events for the next week that I need to prepare for, automatically telling it, hey, go out to my Outlook calendar, bring me back all of that information. Next, I tell it to look at my emails, my Teams message, and my Teams post from the last 48 hours, giving me kind of some highlights, making sure I didn't miss anything, that there were no messages that were outstanding that I needed to reply to, and really giving Copilot the direction to, if something sounds like it's urgent or important, give me a focus point on it. So that's helpful as well. And then finally, just for my own personal edification, I asked for a joke of the day that is coworker friendly and some words of inspiration that I can share with my team. It kind of helps put me in the right mindset, and it also allows me to understand that Copilot is here to help me. And therefore, I can ask for personal things, not just work-related things from it. And as we can see, the results are pretty great. So here we see, here's my today's calendar items that are coming up, the yesterday meetings that I went along with, and it's even telling me that this meeting was transcribed. So I'm going to be able to look at some of that information later if I go to that recap that I was showing before. Next up, you'll see that there's important events coming up next week that I need to be aware of. And then I can see all of the urgent and important emails that I need to take a look at. I can also see some of the less important ones as well, like lunch planning for a meeting coming up. And I need to see what some of these responses were about pizza and eating clean, because I definitely have an opinion about which one I prefer. But at the same time, this is the way that I like to start my day. And it then reminds me and gives me a place to come back to throughout my day to help me focus and realize that Copilot is there to help. And it's one of the reasons why I really try and show this to everybody who asks about Copilot, because this is the first building block for so many good success stories that have come from Copilot. But let's get into something that's a little bit more nitty-gritty. So I'm going to go ahead and start a new chat, kind of blank the memory of Copilot real quick. And I'm going to go ahead and ask it to help me classify some documentation based on a different document. So I would say, how should I classify? And I want to bring in a specific document from my own use. In order to do that, I'm going to click on this plus icon. And I'm going to click on the Add Content button. Now, this is one of the advantages that comes with Microsoft being really embedded with Copilot, because automatically it's bringing me items that I've interacted with very recently. However, it's also giving me access to people that I've interacted with, files that I've interacted with, meetings that I've been attending or were scheduled to attend, emails that I've received, and can even focus on specific sites, as it were. So I'm going to look under my files for a document that I was using. Here we go. I'm going to use this medical report. And one thing I want to show you is that Copilot is not just limited to those standard Microsoft items. This is a PDF file that I am now including inside of my prompt, almost like a Mad Lib. And in doing so, now Copilot is going to reference this point of information and be able to focus on it. But I want it to compare documentation to something else. So I'm going to say, how should I classify this medical report PDF based on this document? And now, instead of using the plus sign, I'm going to use that slash that's in the bottom right-hand corner of your keyboard. It's going to bring up that same menu, and I need to find this file here, data classification, definitions, and sensitive information. Now, I could find this in my files, but if this is a file that existed on my computer, I also have an upload button, so I can pull it from my downloads if need to. I also have attached cloud files. So if I know where that file is located and it's not showing up, I can simply click on here and navigate through my OneDrive and my SharePoint to find that information. But I'm going to go ahead and put in this Word document and send it off. Now, one thing that I like to really show off about Copilot is how it understands your needs and really focuses on them. And in this case, you're going to see that it's bringing back all of this information about the medical report that it read, looking through the different classification document, and finally giving me that recommendation that I'm looking for. But one thing that I kind of hid from you is the fact that this document, this Word document, if I open it up, it's actually written in French, which is a language that I don't speak, but luckily my boss does. And he has clarified that this does in fact work properly. So even for documentation that is not written as me as the specific audience, Copilot can really jump in and help me understand what is going on with this documentation and how it can apply to what I'm doing here. And if I have any further questions, I can always continue the conversation with Copilot as it's remembering all of that past information. Now, I do
Hey,
see that
John.
I have a hand up from Matt. Matt, go
Yeah.
ahead.
I was just going to surface something here, right? So, given the audience we have here, defense industrial base, I can see, of course, a use case for this being CUI, for example, right? Can you talk a little bit about, obviously you see the two tabs at the top, right? For grounding, you see work and web.
Yes.
Talk about how what you just did has no reach out to the internet with the content you're providing it, right?
Absolutely. So something to note is one of the reasons Copilot is such a great tool is because of how secure it really is. So right now I'm in my work tab, which means that the core of Copilot is looking at all of my tenant information for my organization, as well as the World Wide Web. If web grounding has been turned on, it's turned off by default. But no matter what I ask Copilot, as long as I see this green shield in the top right-hand corner, it means that information is never leaving my tenant. All of the questions that I ask, all of the results that it brings back is not being shot off to Microsoft or any other organization. It's being saved right here where it's safe and sound. Matt, is that kind of what you were aiming for?
Yep, you got it. Thanks.
Excellent. All right, so I am going to throw just one last thing in that kind of goes along with our document comparison that I just kind of wanted to show off. And that's partially because, as I said earlier, I believe I used to teach high school English, and so my natural nemesis is Excel. I'll never understand how to use it correctly, and I fear it on most days. But Copilot has become such an asset and a great resource for helping me fully understand some data that's being thrown my way. So for example, I can say, can you give me a summary of this data? And again, using that / or my documentation, my plus sign, excuse me, I can get into my files and I'm going to go ahead and look for this survey that I sent out earlier. Now, I'll go ahead and open the survey as this prompt runs. But instead of me having to look at all of this data and trying to collate it on myself, trying to use my own weak knowledge and see all of these different answers, I can actually utilize Copilot Chat to look through this survey and bring back some helpful insights. I can ask deeper questions about what's going on. I could even write a much better prompt and tell it what are the elements I'm really looking for, who the audience was for this survey, and who I am, and what data I need back. And it can really help clarify some of these large-scale documents and give me a much better viewpoint of what's going on. So whenever there is something just bigger than you might be able to fully digest at first, Copilot again comes in at clutch, being able to provide for you even more information that can be useful and helpful on your work journey.
Hey John, hey John. I just wanted to. This is Bob Allard, by the way. I'm the VP of Sales here at Planet. I would just say on the Excel, for everyone on this call, as someone who lives in Excel and would say I'm a moderate capable Excel person who tries to be a super user, what Copilot brings to the Excel experience for me is the ability to get way better data and insights out of and to actually help me analyze the data as well. So I'll be the first to raise my hand and say one of my favorite features in Copilot is what it brings to Excel for someone who has to try to use it without the skills to get what I want all the time. It's been extraordinarily helpful for me. So I just wanted to make that point.
Thank you so much for sharing, Bob. And I'm going to say, hopefully with Copilot's help, we'll see you at that Excel World Tournament here very soon. Fingers crossed.
I literally saw that on ESPN. It was the craziest thing I've ever seen. So yes.
They are wizards with Excel, and it is amazing what can be done. And now with Copilot, it's not that impenetrable anymore. But that basically leads me to the end of my demonstration component, and we wanted to make sure that there is still plenty of room for questions, comments, and concerns that you might have and how we can cover those. So I believe, Matt, is our next section the Q&A?
Should be, yeah. Got
Excellent.
one question in the chat. One question in the chat.
All right. Let me go ahead and click on that and see if I can't answer that or if it's been answered already. Do MS Graph connectors integrate with Microsoft 365 Copilot, specifically the Graph connector for file shares? Now, I can go ahead and try and answer this question on my own, but whenever it becomes a deeper question, I look to Bill Beener. Bill Beener is one of our amazing engineers here at Planet Technologies, and we rely on him so heavily to answer some of these deeper questions. Bill, do you have any insight on this?
Sure do. So yeah, there's, whatever connectors, if you go into, say, for example, the admin center and you go under search and intelligence, data sources, and if you click on the connectors there, there's about maybe 14 or 15 that are available in GCC High. And one of those is actually the file share to the second part of that question. So yeah, there's, ADLS Gen 2 data lakes, there's on-prem file share, there's even Azure file share. SQL, you name it. So right now there's about 14 that you can take a look at. And I'm just going to share this quick and you can take it back, John, after I share this. So this is, for example, what's available in GCC High in our tenant. And you'll see file shares down here. And just to kind of caveat that, it does require an agent running on a local server. And, you just want to be mindful of the WAN circuit and the bilateral synchronization that might occur in there during the indexing process. But other than that, yeah, totally available. So.
Bill, just some caveat here. It's not going to be available in wave 1, so it should be available in wave 2. The graph connectors, any kind of graph connectors, won't be available right now, and it's in the announcement, and it's going to be. I guess the wave 2 is going to start in next year. So this is not operational today. Even, graph connectors are available, but to connect Copilot to graph connectors, that's not ready yet.
So there you go. Okay, John, it's all yours.
Thanks so much. All right, we have another question from the chat. Are you able to add a GCC High ChatGPT to a Power Automate project if need be? So are you asking specifically about ChatGPT or Copilot in general with its kind of connection ability? If you can preface that in the chat, I'd love to hear that. Dwight is asking if there's any idea when Wave 2 starts. PY, I know that you just posted kind of a update in there, but did you want to give an answer to that one?
Yeah, I'm not sure to understand the question here.
When is Wave 2?
Yeah,
when is Wave 2 is the question.
Yeah.
Yes,
next year.
Yes, next year. There's some are coming in January, some are coming later. We don't have the details.
Yeah, it just says first half of 2026.
The link I shared.
First half. So when we say next year, we don't necessarily mean a year from now, but we do mean in the first half of 2026. And it's going to be a rolling wave. So you'll get some features earlier and they'll be rolling out over time over the next 6 months. And some of that has to do with making sure they meet the stringent standards that the feds have put on the, these tenants, right? So they're passing each one of them through what they need to make sure they're going to be compliant.
Thank you so much. Going back to Rose's question, Rose is asking specifically about ChatGPT, and Rose, I'm going to say I don't have any experience in doing that. I do know that hopefully in the future, you're going to hear a little bit more about Copilot agents coming down the pipeline in one of their future waves. That's going to include a lot of Power Automate abilities that hopefully you'll be able to utilize. Does anybody else in the call have any experience with? Oh, yes.
Can you hear me? So the question, why I asked, because I actually set one up with an HTTP connector directly to the chat. Will you have to add the AI piece in, the open AI with it? The AI piece along with the chat, and it gives you a prompt in there. So if you're doing like a project with the folks sometimes have projects, you can actually build a chat GPT project inside PA. So I was just wondering if we could do that with GCC High. I find it to be value.
Oh, understandably so. One of the things that I'll say is, we're trying to focus on kind of more Copilot for this session. We could definitely talk probably a little bit off air as well and really focus more on this question. But I understand where that desire for ChatGPT is coming from. Something I've told many people is that, ChatGPT, Gemini, and Copilot may be on the same track, but they're all running a very different race. Some are trying to be on the bleeding edge of AI. Copilot is really trying to be focused to be that Microsoft assistant, delivering fast, concrete answers from your own tenant's information. And that's really where the focus is. So HTTP connectors are definitely a way to start evaluating more of those connections. I have not tested that within the GCC High environment yet, but I can tell you right now, I'm going to be testing that out, and I'll note your name and try and come back to it. Although Bob,
yeah,
I think
unfortunately, I don't have names on the list. So if you want to send the contact info, we'll absolutely follow up for you.
Yes, please.
Yeah, and just maybe Rose, you can provide some clarity. It sounds like you're doing that over in some other in commercial or something, and what you're saying is you have a Power Automate project and you're using an external connector, which is ChatGPT. Am I stating that correctly?
Yep, that's correct, and it's very valuable if you have a group of folks doing a project. It eliminates Teams from there. Because it's because Teams is mostly public, right? So if you've got a separate project that's sensitive data, or even just a normal project, right? You can build your own ChatGPT prompt inside the PA system. So it gives you that security there where no one else can get to that project. And you can have all your chats and stuff in through there with your project files and stuff going through there, going through that chat, because it's secure, it's private.
That's a really interesting approach, Rose. I can see where you're trying to aim for. I would also say that there might be some other functionality within Copilot that we might want to share with you as well during our session that might also enhance your capabilities of that type of connection as well, while maintaining that security. So hopefully I'll get a chance to, or one of us will get a chance to talk to you down the road and kind of explore that a little bit more.
Okay, and you do have to use the premium HTTP call.
Yep, that
you
checks
have to
out.
Use the premium.
That sounds right.
Yep.
All right, so Rose, we're just going to go ahead and table that for now. Hopefully we'll come back to you a little privately later and get to some of our other questions. So Kwan asks, where would one go to set guardrails with this product? I joined a bit late, so I apologize if this has already been asked. Bill, I'm probably going to look for a little bit of help on this one. If we want to set some guardrails on Copilot, where are we looking?
So guardrails are built in, right? It's all about that responsible and safe AI that Microsoft has posted. You can also, if someone does try to use Copilot for nefarious reasons, they're, with your G5 license, Purview is going to not only prevent that, but it's also going to, notify someone and say, hey, John Parrott's looking for socials of people in the company, might want to stop by his desk, right? And then also there's, you read around, some workarounds that some smart folks have figured out. For example, if a certain prompt category, let's say, how to really annoy John Parrott during the day, Copilot will probably come back and say, you know what, not the best use. Let's focus on something more technical. But then you could be like, well, what if I put that prompt in a document, and then Copilot, the indexing process, will process that text and maybe execute the prompt. And that's where we have prompt shields. So we have prompt shields for documents as well. So nobody's going to be able to hide anything in there.
Saquon, hopefully that answered your question. If there's any follow-ups, feel free to keep on throwing those in the chat, and we'll be happy to do some follow along. But while you do, I'm going to go ahead and address Dwight's question. I'll take that one up. Can you demonstrate Copilot notebooks? I can't seem to find it. Is it only available with a Copilot add-on? So there's a lot of different ways to set up your environment. Notebooks should be a part of your GCC High, so there might just be a few toggle switches that you need to turn on or off, but I can definitely go ahead and give you a demonstration on how they are supposed to work. So I'm going to go ahead and head on over back to my demonstration point. And we'll go ahead and click on Notebooks. And we'll go ahead and click on Create Copilot Notebooks. Now, this is one that's been a little bit finicky for us, but this is part of the beauty of the Microsoft 365 ecosystem. And that is, it used to be, we get a new product and then it stays stagnant and has no changes until we have to buy into a new upgrade. Because of our subscription model, anytime that there are new updates, changes, upgrades, we don't have to do anything different. They're just going to automatically appear. So if things aren't working properly for you within a notebook, don't worry, give it a little time, try it again in 2 months, 3 months, and you might see a very different result. But I'll go ahead and work through this in theory. So the idea of a notebook is kind of creating a customized version of Copilot that's only going to be surfacing a select amount of information. So for example, I'm going to go ahead and call this my GCC High notebook. And as you can see, I have access to a lot of different files that I've been open to lately. And it gives me the same features before as uploading documentation from my hard drive or attaching cloud files. So I can go through and kind of cherry pick different pieces of documentation that I want to pull into my notebook. Now, this is going to be a wild assortment because we hadn't really planned on this, so bear with me on it. But as you can see, all my selected references are being cataloged here, and I can go ahead and click Create. Now, what it's doing is utilizing Copilot to now, instead of looking at information on my tenant or on the web or anything of the like, it's now only going to be looking at the reference documentation that I built in. So whenever I ask a prompt of Copilot, which looks like it's being a little finicky right now for me, we will be able to prompt directly and only get answers back about this documentation. Some of the great use cases I found for notebooks have been if somebody wants to kind of create their own project diary, they are able to take all the project information, throw it inside of a notebook, and then be able to quiz on that notebook. And because it's connected to cloud files, if those files are updated by other individuals, the Copilot built into the system is going to be able to read those cloud files and bring you more up-to-date information as it changes. So it kind of becomes that hub of information. Another great example that I've seen somebody use for this is they felt bad about bugging HR all the time about things they knew were located on the SharePoint or located within some documentation that was available. And so they built their own HR notebook where they gathered the employee handbook and some other ancillary information from HR, placed it in there. And whenever they had questions about how to take time off or, insurance questions, they could ask their notebook and get some really positive responses. The other really interesting element that comes along with the notebook when it's working is that we can actually add Copilot instructions, which I kind of reference as a prompt 0. So usually whenever you're starting fresh in a Copilot chat, you need to feed it some of your preferences, the way that you like information being displayed, or the types of elements you want to bring in. The nice thing about a notebook is that we can put in instructions so that before we even prompt, this notebook is going to know what areas to follow. So I can put things into here such as, please display data as a table. Use a relevancy meter whenever answering questions. You can also give it step-by-step instructions on how to handle certain responses that you're looking for. You can really give it a lot more detail in how you want information retrieved. Now, of course, it's not working for me today, but look for it in your own environments. And if you're not seeing it, talk with your IT professionals and figure out what toggles need to be flipped to get there.
Hey, John,
Yes.
Maybe just try hard refreshing that page. I'm using notebooks on my side without issue,
Gotcha.
so it might just be a little bug there. Just got to refresh something. I think there was another question in the chat. Question in the questions actually from Joseph around what features are not available in M365 GCC High Copilot. So the best way to get those is there was a service description link shared above. It has a good table. It actually outlines the comparison of direct feature capabilities available in GCC High versus commercial, as well as some caveats. There's some specific caveats around Teams meetings, for example, around, of course, the web grounding, et cetera. So if you go to the top of the chat there, you'll see the service description link. And if you're not able to get to it, let me know and I can put it in there again.
Thank you, sir.
I will say upon that refresh, Matt, it worked perfectly. So thank you.
Yep.
All right. Is there any other questions, comments that we can go ahead and start addressing?
Doesn't sound like it. So it sounds like we'll wrap up. Just a quick reminder for folks, part of the Already On It program is benefit sessions as well. We have introduced some new Copilot benefit sessions. And so if those sound interesting to you, you can reach out to Kim, who would have sent the invite for this meeting, and she'll be able to get you connected with the right folks to get those scheduled. And as a reminder, of course, those are free of charge to you. There's no cost to those. And so if you want a more deep dive into some of the Copilot capabilities through the Already On It program, that would be a great avenue to do so. Or take advantage of any of the other benefit sessions that are available as well.
Are you guys going to have more of a advanced and administration classes for Copilot and ChatGPT? Are you going to have we need on our team, we need more advancements than what this we know about all this that you've given today.
Yeah, we can take that on advisement for future sessions for sure. I did mention earlier, I did do a DSPM for AI session earlier this year. And so if you need the link to that, Kim should be able to provide that as well to the recording.
Oh, that'd be great. Yes, please. Thank you.
John, I do see that you have your hand raised.
Yeah, just a quick one. Does this replace Copilot Studio, or what is the the roadmap for the two of these products?
So, sorry, John, go ahead.
No, go right ahead, Bill. Take it away.
So Copilot Studio is available today. And you might come across documentation that say it's not. There is conflicting, but it is available today, and it is the preferred method for creating custom agents. Anything beyond a simple retrieval type of an agent, I would say. But the two are different. So Microsoft 365 Copilot is really that chat interface, that whole chat experience, whereas Copilot Studio is going to be where you build agents that are more focused Copilot experiences. For example, having it focus on a particular data set in a data lake or in SharePoint or whatever that case may be. So they're both two separate products, and they're both going to be around for quite a long time. And there's also going to be Copilot Studio Lite, right, John? Inside.
That is what I believe so, yes.
Yeah.
So the light version is a little bit more of if a standard user wants to create an agent just for themselves, where Copilot Studio is much more made more for the developers or agents that you might want to be able to use organization-wide.
Yeah, we were looking at the HR question earlier for Copilot Studio.
Yeah, I think that would be
kind of. I'm sorry, John. I was going to say it's kind of limited right now. So, for example, they're limited in terms of not necessarily so much where you can build, but where you can deploy it. So the last time I was in there was a couple months ago. I was only able to deploy an agent to a custom web app, but that's not to say that you wouldn't be able to do that with that HR solution that you were looking at. I'm not sure if that's the for pay one or the for free one that you were referring to?
Well, we are having problems with our licensing right now, but we would want to use it on the paid one.
Okay. Yeah, that's the robust self-service one, right? With the benefits and all that. Yeah. I would just see next time you're in Copilot Studio, take a look at your channels and just see what channels are available to you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you all for your time today. Appreciate it. And we'll look forward to seeing you on the next Cloud Office Hours in January.
Thank you.
Thank you.